Hello, good afternoon. I'm gonna wait for people to sign on, but here for Mask Off. Welcome. Thank you for joining. It's gonna be Jay and I going live talking about Mask Off. Welcome everybody. Welcome to
And
the
I'm
chat.
here
Hey,
too.
bro, what's going on?
Hi, Courtney.
Feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's 3 months into quarantine, so this is, you know, we're maintaining quite well, so I can't complain. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Oh, if I can get my camera together. Hold on. Oh,
Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us.
almost.
Excited. Jay's going to get his life together. He's excited. Ow, 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 ow.
Got it. I got it.
What's going on?
Okay, so we're here today to talk about our about different stereotypes, and we're specifically talking about the stereotypes and a piece that we perform called Mr. Tolerance. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. Hi, everybody, again. Okay, if you didn't hear it the first time, my colleague Courtney / my sister Courtney. And I don't know if you know, but throughout the ballet, we are sometimes paying homage to different parts of our culture and our history, and sometimes we are playing into the stereotypes, the way that other people see us. And when we turn them on and we turn them off, we call it putting on our mask and taking off our mask.
Right.
A couple of stereotypes that we play into are, come on, Courtney, help me out.
So we have Mammy. We
Like,
have
especially everybody talking about Gone with the Wind and
right. So like Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, that character.
There's the video vixen, which is hypersexualized black woman that we see a lot in reality TV, music videos, video vixen.
We cared about like when our kids are dancing, how some things are over sexualized and it's not, or how people choose to over sexualize a lot of dancing from our culture.
Right. There's the thug that we see. So, I mean, you could just look on any news station at any point in time and see a black man that they're trying to create this persona that is angry or dangerous or always wanting to cause some type of violence or disruption. So there's the thug. And then the last one we have is like the coon. We have like the butler who's like very kind of slap happy, or those are two different ones. So then we have the slap happy one, like Step and Fetch. You're just if you look back at some old sitcoms, you see black men especially represented as like just very like
especially in the
where's that
the era with the black faces, with the black face and just the and they greet everything, and you'll see a lot of these a lot of this image with the caricatures of them looking like with black face and white gloves and red big old lips and smiling.
So what sections would you say we are actively like working with the mask on? Because throughout the piece, like Jay was saying before, we have some sections where we're paying homage to just the reality and the authenticity of what Black culture is, and then sometimes we're actively putting on those masks. So let's just start with what sections would you say we're actively wearing those masks, and what does that how does that influence the movement like on stage?
Well, for those who like actually know the ballet or who've seen the ballet,
right.
When the ballet first starts, and it starts with a quartet of dancers, you'll see the dancers going in and out because they're telling you what's coming. you'll see the dancers going in and out using these different masks, like gathered by the piano. You'll see them like tapping their weed, some of them, and like really like arching their back, or you'll like cleaning the floor. It's really, really, really clear through this in the second act where you see us, in which we then tap into different stereotypes. We tap into the stereotypes that that you've seen on TV with certain characters on TV, where Dynamite or with Urkel, how you can't separate the character from
right.
And yes, in second act a lot, smiling with different things that we do because we've changed what's going on in today's culture, and we've made it like a caricature, like a stereotype. It's sections where we're all lined up to get shot by a white person, like one at a time. People like filming it and watching it on,
That's my favorite part, honestly. I know. I mean, my favorite part isn't it's fun, but it's also it's just so real. Like it's such a, we want to say like a over dramatic version, but really like the whole concept of like World Star. And so we see this whole website of people like, look at all of this craziness, look at all of this violence, and I'm like, oh, look what's happening. It's like that I think that little small insert really hit me of how just of how wildly we are like perceptive, like
it kind of hits you in a way when you're performing it, because it's like you're smiling and we make fun, and we have these glued on plastered like smiles that kind of come across scary sometimes.
Yeah.
You find yourself, we're even we're in such places where like we're caught in between like having a good time and realizing that we're making fun, and also pushing the stereotype along so you can see exactly how we're viewed. And we're viewed in places where a lot of people have this stereotype, and it's these masks we put on and we put off.
Right.
And when we go out into the real world, it's a mask that we can't take off. So, it's playing with those. It's really interesting, because a lot of it I knew about before I started performing the piece, and of course I knew that it was like relevant, that it went on, but like it really started affecting me more as I started performing the dance.
Right.
To take those masks on and off it's so exhausting.
It is, yeah. So I'm gonna ask you, and I'll share too. Like what has been your experience now that we have this piece where we're fully delved into this piece that explores taking off this mask and these personas, and like how we are portrayed in media, or how like white viewers see what we feel is like authentic. How has that like concept of taking off or having on a mask, like how has that affected your personal life? Like for me,
go ahead. I had to get closer to the camera for this.
Like for me, it has allowed me to just really reflect of how, or be more aware, more conscious of when I am moving in different spaces. What stereotype am I trying to play into? What mask am I putting on in this space? And I think we were having a conversation about this a few days ago, about how the mask really is not to protect me. It's kind of like this COVID mask, where I'm putting the mask on so that you feel more comfortable,
feel better about
who I am, right? And it's like it's interesting because I'm putting this mask on so that you feel more comfortable with me, but then it's like a tug of war, because then you never really get to see the full authenticity of who I am, which is
about altering things about myself that don't even exist, because you have a problem with
things. Because you have a preconceived notion of who I am. So in order to like not fit into that, I'm then like fitting myself into, or presenting myself as something other than who I am.
Yeah, I think for me, I tend to try to work in an environment where I don't have to put on and take on and off the mask. I really do. However, I'm finding myself coming to places where where it would be a place where I would normally put on the mask, and I'm not doing that no more.
Period. We're not doing that.
I'm not putting on no mask. I'm not saying that I'm about to be this evil person, but I never was that person. Like, right. I'm not saying that I'm about to be this, but I found myself before going into certain situations. I won't name specific like names of situations just because I guess this is not the 5 o'clock news, but I'm just going to just so we get, what I'm going through, like what I've been. Environments where everybody in the room is smiling. Now, where I'm from and the people that I come behind, a room of smiling people isn't always the friendliest room.
Right.
However, for some other people, it is. And at one point, I would put on this smile, kind of like this, to make myself blend into the room, and so that I didn't look so angry.
Right.
Though I think things that make you look angry isn't necessarily that you're not wearing a smile, but that's a whole nother day, a whole nother conversation. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
And I think going like with that idea of exhaustion, that was not spelled wrong. Thinking about that idea of exhaustion, like the second act, like we were saying before, the second act of tolerance, we really, really delve into, the stereotypes that we are put into, that are placed really upon us, and how, we go through this long section of like, it never ends. Like the work of like being a Black person in America, like it never ends. I always have to like, I'm always being thrown of all of these images that don't necessarily reflect who I am, right? Like I'm always
smiling so that
then, but by the end we get to that. He's still talking. Did
I go ahead.
We get to that, we after this section we get to the solo with Tim, and it's like, I don't want this. Like, how do I take this off, right? It starts to get so debilitating, and so it's exhausting and it's heavy. And so how do we then encourage ourselves to like not have, like, we don't have to wear these masks. Like we have been put in these positions for however many years, to where we feel like we, in order to keep the peace or whatever, to make it seem like we want to be like more palatable to a broader audience, we put on these masks. But at what point do we stop allowing ourselves to be exhausted by this?
Yeah, I mean, the same story goes back to Dreamgirls and everybody that falls into that. How they, moving Effie out the lead and putting Dina so we can have a different style, putting on a different mask, changing the facing of things to make you think that it's different, or to make you feel different. I know Courtney said earlier, like, as I thought about it, I'm like, oh, the social mask and the COVID mask are twins.
Yeah.
And of like, I put on this mask not so to protect me from the virus, but it's protect you from the virus. So I put on a social mask not to protect you from our culture, but not to protect me from our culture, but to protect you from our culture, which I think that's where it becomes like, where it really has made me think like, okay, COVID-19 I get. You mask, I don't, the social mask I don't get, because there's only a few of us wearing the mask. It's not like we all going outside wearing masks, being conscious of each other. It's just us going outside wearing masks, being conscious of you.
Right.
And me, that doesn't sit right. Like, and it's exhausting trying to be something that you're not. It's exhausting trying to put on a mask. It's exhausting to do on stage, because you're already putting on a performance mask that you have to put on stage in the first place.
Right.
So you put on a performance mask. On top of that performance mask that you put on so that people feel like they got their ticket, which that's the mask that I signed up for. I'm okay with that
Right,
mask.
right.
But then it's the other mask that you have to put on and take off. Those stereotypes that you have to put on and take off. And it's so funny because in our normal day life, I don't really have to do nothing to put on and take off that mask. If I look like that person to you, then I am that person to you.
Right.
As opposed to when I'm on stage, there's certain things that I'm doing to make you think that I'm different, that I'm different stereotypes. It's every time I finish Tolerance, especially the first.
It's extremely exhausting. I'll never forget like the first time I had a run through of like the full piece from beginning to end. And we were in the studio, and I just like I had to step over to the side. And if y'all know me like out there, I cry. That's what I do. I sit in the wings and I cry for a second. But I was like bawling, and Camille came over to me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, but it's a lot." Hey, Malik.
Malik.
It's a lot to go through because number one, it's physically exhausting. We all know Camille's work. We all know that it's very fast. It never slows down. But then on top of that, I'm being taken on this journey. You go on this journey where I come out and we're exploring, and basically, I think she said one time it's like we're time traveling, right? So when the piece opens, we have the soloist, but then the quartet comes, and it's kind of just like we're being taken through space, through what we've been through.
Not like your swan lake. It's not like a journey like you're doing Sleeping Beauty. It's not like a journey where you're doing some figurative thing that, oh, I'm the mean person, and then when this play is over, I'm the mean person no more. No, this is a journey that sticks so closely beside you, and it's such a part of you that it's hard to like not act. It's hard to not to be a part of it. It's hard not to engage fully because half of this, most of this, a lot of this is your culture, is what you're from. So you can like
what we've had to do.
Let it drag you through the time travel, which is a gift and a curse within its own. I know it sounds crazy, you guys, but that's what this dance will do. That.
No, I mean, I think this dance is really cathartic because it brings you to the point of realization that it's crazy that I have to put on this, like my people have had to do this for so long. I am young, and I had to do this for so long. It's like
all of this, we're all these actors, and we don't win not one Oscar, not one Tony, not one. We've been acting for years with these masks.
Right. And so I think one thing that has been kind of sitting on my spirit, like in the midst of all of this, of what's happening in the world, and we're protesting, which is, I think, a super beautiful movement. But I think I am even more appreciative of being exposed and being able to explore this work because it's a protest within itself to say, look at these Black bodies that are on stage, that we are exhausted, and we come out and like, I love how the piece ends and we're still, we're rising, we come, and it's like,
we still ain't
we're exhausted. We're not all the way stood up, but at least that I'm going to keep trying to stand up and be my most authentic self every time. Like, I think it's taking the mask off is like a protest within itself to say, hey, like, Black people don't have to continue to wear these masks. Like, we're going to show up. We're going to be my authentic self. When I'm presented or I'm in a room, it's a protest to just say, like you said, like, maybe that's not what I'm feeling. I don't want to smile like this.
No.
But it doesn't mean I can't show up in my work.
How do you teach people how to embrace who you are if you always have on a mask?
Right.
Sometimes people and performers, this analogy is for you. Like that matinee, baby, she be hard. Because it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, even if it's, love at Christmas, I don't feel lovely at Christmas. I am. You know what I'm saying?
That's okay.
But we put that mask on and we go do that 10 a.m. at Christmas. So we can get out lovely at Christmas check. when it's over, we all have sat there like, just like, I keep using this Dreamgirls analogy, but just like I'm sure Effie, when she got to sing And I'm Telling You, I'm sure she don't feel like And I'm Telling You every night. I'm sure on her soul. I'm sure that has to be exhausting because you got to pull. Now, imagine if you had to do that in your everyday life, to go into a bodega, to go buy some shoes, to go learn, to go take a ballet class, to go buy a Metro card. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting.
It's mentally exhausting.
All are mentally snatched because we mentally worked out on a
not mentally snatched
due to the mask switching. Some people call it code switching.
Right.
Some people call it appropriating. Some because there's different degrees there's different degrees of which you can do this. It's exhausting. It's like going to your in-laws' house. You can't stand them, and you acting like you love them while they breathe all over your new baby, and you all real mad. But you get in your car, and you get to get away from that.
Yeah.
When the mask that we wear, you can't take this. You can't take it off, and tolerance and sometimes I like to forget that we have to wear masks by not being in different environments. However, like it's super exhausting. I cannot say that enough. How exhausting it is, and how it's like being something that you're not is not something that anybody.
We're not. I mean, it's just we're not made to. Like I think you were saying that we're not. Anybody out there is not capable of always having to present themselves as something that they're not.
And so, no matter how much you do it, some people don't see it.
Some people don't want to see it, and that
some
people don't
at all
see it.
Trying to put on because they have their own that they have on people. Whoa.
So I'm thinking just because it is exhausting, but I'm like, okay, how do I, because there definitely are moments, which is why it's so healing. There definitely are moments that are like extremely liberating. Like we have, Act 2, and we spoke about how that is the section where we put these masks on, and we like, when we put it on, like at this point, it's a whole suit, right? So you have to become a completely different, it's almost like not even human. It's like it's a caricature. But in Act 1, as we're paying homage and we're shedding light on like what my thing right now that's like kind of keeping me grounded is like radical joy, right? Like how do I continue to live in joy? Because if I look at, if we continue to look at the news and look at the protests and look at the police brutality that's happening at the protest against police brutality, it becomes a situation where I have had this conversation with myself, and I've had this conversation with some of my peers of how it's almost like you want to guilt trip yourself for not feeling angry, or not feeling, sad or about the situation,
or not letting your response be one of anger.
Right. And so
we're all like, I think we're all. I'm sorry to cut you off, Courtney. I think we're all in a place where I think we have both been encouraged that being angry is okay. Not encouraged, but being told that being angry is okay. I think that we're both. Everybody's also looking at what their response is going to be like, and how their response is going to be. How their response is going to be helpful and productive to what we want the outcome to be. Yeah. Do we have any questions? Oh, also a lot of tolerance is like celebrating and
right.
And paying homage to a lot of the culture and a lot of the parts of entertainment that we love and that we, and that's brought us along this far. So it's all not just like, but that's why.
So there, like in Act 1, there are, so we kind of go, we have this, we come in and we are just in this time warp. So then we pay homage to the 20s. And so I think one of the most beautiful things that I think Camille says all the time in rehearsals, like, this is not performative. Like, it looks performative because that's just what our culture is. Like, we have this joy, we have the stance, we have the swag, like we have the language to make it seem like, ooh, you know, this is something that's for somebody else, when this is really just, I think it's so awesome to be able to explore how Black people have evolved and how Black culture has evolved throughout the decades, but put it on stage in a place where it's not performative. This is just how we rock. Like, it's like the 20s, we're just cutting a rug at a party, right? Where, you know, and then we go around the piano, and then now we're in the 80s and we're just like at the park, like, I like him, like that's my home girl, you know, and it's so, it's fun, and it's healing, and it's a protest in itself, I guess, that, you know, put that on stage and have us just create a space to have Black people just be joyful as Black people and have that be something that's celebrated. Like, that's really fun for me.
I have does anybody have any questions?
Sorry.
No, it's okay, because I have a few. A couple, while we try to get some questions together, a couple of things you can do to help not perpetuate the stereotype of having people wear these masks.
Right.
Just because people are not, number one, just because people are not smiling does not mean they're angry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only manifested in a face that's not smiling. Now, a lot of us are very, like, you know, we talk with a lot of, like, you know, it has a lot of stuff behind it.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight generally has words follow, like, I'm ready to fight, or you will see physical action. But just because you see a person get passionate does not mean they're ready to fight or they're ready to have some kind of physical altercation with you.
Right.
Do you have any?
Just because a person is not, if I'm in a space where I'm not like the most talkative, or I'm not laughing, that doesn't mean that I'm like angry. Again, I think it goes back to, I think for me, that's one of the biggest masks that I feel like I have to wear all the time, is like being
Acting like
peppy, I guess. Like, you know, I don't want to say peppy, but just acting as, putting on this like smile, and, you know, all the time, so that people will see, well, people won't feel as if I'm annoyed or if I'm angry. So I think I would just like to build upon what you said. And if somebody is not sitting in a way or looking in a way that doesn't equate to contentment or joy, that does not mean that they are then unhappy with the situation or angry. It's just, that's a different expression of where they are. But if they show up, and we all show up and we do the work, then it doesn't really matter what your face is. We do have a question.
Just one last one. Just because I'm dressed a certain way does not mean I'm here for a certain thing. I'll put it like this.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that I'm not an adult. It does not mean that I'm not someone's father. It does not mean that I am somebody's father.
Mm-hmm.
The way I dress should have nothing to do with the type of business or energy that I wish to deal with or work with at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions. If you have questions, that will make it better. But your questions cannot insinuate anything. It just needs to be a question.
Okay, so we have a question here from Tamisha Guy.
Oh, you better go.
She's asking, how are you holding on to a bit of joy during this time?
You want to go? I am holding on to the joy by celebrating the great things that I do have, and the great things I have gotten from my culture and that I have gotten from around me. The one thing is, like, with this company and these topics, it makes us have to talk to each other and engage more. And I realize, like, the family, that my CABD family is the best. Shout out to everybody in CABD.
Everybody at CABD.
Blah, 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 blah. And so that's what I hold on to. And my work, Courtney.
For me, when I am holding on to my joy, I'm doing that. I interact a lot with kids. So I think seeing and wanting to like protect their joy is also, that fills my cup, because um you know, the work that I'm seeing that's being done, that could be very exhausting, but I know that this is for us to create a space where they can continue to be joyful, because kids are, that's just who they are. Like they carry a lot of light within them. And so I think that's one thing that helps me to stay connected to my joy. But two, also like laughing and, you know, talking to my CABD family and listening to music and like, or, you know, vegging out. Like sometimes you have to disconnect, and that's also okay, which kind of piggyback to the question that we have in the comments. Someone's asking, what do you both practice? How do you practice self-care, and what is it? And so like my self-care these days, I'm like, I'm going out, I'm riding bikes, like just disconnecting, like turning on the music, turning off the news.
No problem.
Thank you, Tamisha. We love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just biggest
I
thing for me is unplug. Just unplug for a second.
I will throw myself into work. I do a lot of projects with kids where I donate a lot of my time and energy to helping them be productive with what they want in life. I'm actually promoting one today, Bring It to the Marley, with a lot of kids in our program.
Yes.
And things. So I think about, I throw myself into things that I can push back into my community and make us not think about things that are the negative things that are pushing in. That's how I am surviving. But
Yep.
that's how I survive even when the times aren't like this.
Right, because now we've all had to, because of the mask that we like have to have, we've all had to find ways to not be exhausted by being Black. So now, you know, of course, because now we're in quarantine still, and then we are in the middle of a Black Lives Matter movement. I think the awareness of how exhausting it is now heightened. So now we're having to do more to like stay connected to that joy. But it's this, like you were saying, like this journey or this like act of having to stay connected to my joy because it's exhausting has always been present.
Yeah. And
So
I think we've always been exhausted, but you know, you don't really know what the exhaustion is until like somebody like, you know, you've been walking up all those steps when you could have just took the, oh,
right.
that's why I've been feeling like this. It's like that. It's like that kind of, and it's like, whoa, you know. So
Yeah.
we need you. We need you too.
We love you. Hey Jill. So it is time. If anyone has any last questions, we are here. But this has been a conversation about the idea of having a mask on and taking that mask off. What does it look like to just show up and be your authentic self? How that is a protest within itself to just show up and not feel like you have to put a mask on to appease someone else's comfortability with who you
I
are.
encourage people to ask yourself, how often are you asking people to put on mascara?
Mm.
And what does that look and feel like? And is that
Good question.
cognizant of like the energy that we're sending out, but also the energy that we're asking people to give us when they're amongst us as well?
Right. High five. Love your authentic selves. Thank you. We love you. And with that being said, I think I'm going to continue this day with my mask off because I feel great. I feel proud. Thank you for sharing this convo. Thank you all for being here. We love
Thank you
you.
for coming through.
And we will see y'all in classes and hopefully see y'all on the stage sometime soon. But if not, we'll be here in these chats. We love you.
Dance, holla.
Love you, Jay.
Love you too, boo.
Bye.
Bye.
This how you do this. Thank you, everybody. We love you.